Graças a Deus por esse tempo de louvor, de adoração, de oração. E agora é a oportunidade de abrirmos os nossos corações e deixar Deus ministrar.
We thank God for this amazing time of worship and His presence in our midst and in our church and in our lives. As God ministers to us right where we are. Exactly where we are in life, God meets us at that point of need.
Deus conhece a tua necessidade hoje. Não estás aqui por acaso.
And it's amazing how God is such a personal God. And He can fill the void of your heart, your anxiety. And He is bigger than any storm that you and I may be going through today.
Cada de nós aqui pode estar a passar por experiências
Each one of
diferentes.
us are going through different experiences and hurts.
E Deus conhece exatamente onde estás, o
But
que
the
está a
amazing
doer,
thing
o que
about
está fora do lugar.
our God,
E Ele
He
quer
knows where to
que a
touch.
tua vida esteja no seu
He knows
alcance.
what to fix.
Pastor Eugênio é querido nosso.
And this afternoon, it's a wonderful privilege to have
Começou aos 15 anos como
Pastor
professor
Eugênio.
de alunos da sua faixa de idade.
As he began teaching when he was only 15,
E Deus já o
years,
chamava para o
and as
ministério.
God called him into ministry and God touched his life with
Ele
a
se
call,
colocou à disposição de Deus
And he
desde o
placed his
início
life
da sua juventude.
in God's hands at the
E Deus
beginning
o
of his
guardou,
youth.
o guardou,
God kept
o
him.
dirigiu.
God guided him.
Através do ministério em Cabo Verde.
God took him and ministered through him in the Cape Verde
E de
Islands.
lá foi transportado para o continente africano como
God
líder
then
do
had
continente
another
todo.
plan and took him all the way to the continent of
E agora, como
Africa.
um dos 6 superintendentes gerais da igreja do
Today,
Nazareno.
he is one of the 6 general superintendents that guides the entire denomination
Eu
of the Church
garanti
of the
que todas as
Nazarene.
semanas nós temos acompanhado as
I tell
viagens, muitas
him that
viagens
we
dele.
watch his schedule,
Temos orado por ele.
we pray for you,
E
we
sei que
accompany
Deus
you,
vai continuar a abençoar a si
and may
e a
God
sua família
keep you, your
e ao ministério que
family,
Deus tem
and God to
colocado
guard
sobre
your
os seus ombros.
ministry and to give you wisdom in the decisions that you make as you guide this denomination.
Para grande homem de Deus,
You're a great man of
para
God.
uma grande chamada,
You have a great
a
call
grande coração.
and you have a great heart.
Que Deus o abençoe
May God bless
grandemente.
you, brother, pastor, Dr. Duarte.
Ele é homem tão inteligente que fala 6, 7 línguas.
He
Então
is-
todas essas bandeiras hoje vão
He's
ser
an
cobertas.
amazing linguist. He speaks many, many languages. He's very versed. And we're going to ask God to bless his brain and his tongue as he shares with us back and forth, I'm assuming.
Amém.
Muito obrigado, pastor. Eu estou imensamente feliz por estar com a Igreja do Senhor aqui hoje em Pawtucket. Very happy to be here with the Church of the Lord in Pawtucket today. God is wonderful. He is faithful. And it all started at the altar, Pastor. Começou no altar. Começou no altar. Há algum tempo atrás. Eu estive visitando o Japão. 2 domingos atrás eu participei de um culto em Japão que não foi tão vivo como este, posso garantir. Not anything like this in terms of life, but it was with God's people, and they wanted Maria Teresa and I to to enjoy some of what Japan offers to the visitors. And I could not say no to that. I enjoyed what they had to give us. And they asked us what kind of thing we would like to see. Well, the Golden Temple was one good thing to see in Kyoto. And we did see the Golden Temple. But I did want to see something more than just that, so Maria Teresa agreed with me that we should see the beautiful gardens of Japan. They have many. Tem muitos jardins muito lindos em Japão. E nós não só quisemos ver a beleza do Templo de Ouro, o Templo Buda de Ouro, mas quisemos ver os jardins de Japão. Estivemos em cerca de 3, 4 lugares do género, e em todos esses jardins eles têm um lugar destinado à cerimônia do chá. The tea ceremony is one thing they have and they do in all those different gardens they have in Japan. And I was sitting inside on the floor with everybody else inside one of those tea rooms, and looking beyond the wall, I could see a beautiful, beautiful garden. It is beautiful because it has everything that God has created to a garden. And through the window that was purposefully built that way, the frame of the window is like a picture frame, pardon me, and you could see the living garden across, as if you were looking at a beautiful, beautiful picture on the wall. But it was real. And then we went out and wanted to go for a walk. Passear no jardim seria a coisa mais desejável nessa altura. E nós fomos para o passeio. Tocámos o natural. Lembrámos-nos do artificial, do quadro. Vimos as plantas, algumas de tamanho natural, outras de tamanho não natural. Aquelas que propositadamente fazem em miniatura. Pensamos nas limitações humanas e no poder de Deus. You cannot compare the two without being amazed at how great our God is. When you think of the human limitations and you think of the power of God who creates all that is there for you to see and to enjoy. And someone from Jabrada não podia deixar de gozar o jardim, e mais do que as plantas e as árvores, também as pedras que estavam no jardim. Eles têm uma habilidade muito especial de trabalhar com as pedras para embelezarem o espaço. Até a posição em que colocam as pedras tem um significado especial. Rocks, stones, they have a special place in the thinking of the Japanese people. And I asked about why they placed them in so many different positions in the gardens. Now remember that if you may not know, but those who know will remember that growing up in Brava, being a son of a builder, meu pai era pedreiro. Eu ouvi dando ordens aos seus ajudantes. Alguém disse-me aqui hoje que foi ajudante do meu pai no passado, na Brava. E não sei se lembra, mas eles sabem chamar as pedras por nome. Não são somente pedras, têm nome. And I heard my father calling those names according to the function of the stone, according to the role that the stone would have on the building, the name. To the Japanese, stones give an idea of eternity. They think of eternity as they look at a stone. Well, it lasts. It lasts almost forever. And again, our limitation, that's one of the best we can use to give us an idea of eternity. And one of the things that I kept doing there in those gardens was taking photos of the ways they built. Os caminhos muito lindos que eles fizeram, alguns deles simplesmente térreo, outros pavimentados com pedras cortadas, pedras naturais. Um passo entre as pedras em alguns desses caminhos. E o companheiro, o irmão Marty, que é japonês e que nos convidou ao Japão a propósito, perguntou por que está tirando fotos dos caminhos. It's because Jesus is the way. And I see Jesus everywhere I go. And I see Him in His garden. And I enjoy His presence now as I look at the ways and I walk on the stones. Then suddenly we saw one special way paved with big stones. Natural stones. They had not been worked on. They just looked natural. The first one was bigger than the rest. And it is called, I have to read this, Kutsunigi-ishi. And that means the stone you must take your shoes off before you walk on. A pedra que tens de tirar os sapatos antes de poderes andar por cima. Antes de poderes ter o contacto com o natural, o contacto com aquilo que foi criado por Deus. Stones, altar. The other day we had a special guest at GMC, Global Ministry Center, no centro, na sede, em Lenexa, Kansas. Era especial porque era meu primo. And I asked if they would give him a tour to the building. And they did. And I took him inside the building, and I asked the guide, I said, would it be okay if I took the tour with him? You know, I did tour the building before it was finished. That was in 2007. But since it was finished, I have not had a tour. I have gone in many different buildings, But I usually walk straight into my office and then out of my office to where I need to go, people I need to see in the building, and then I'm off, I'm out. But that day I wanted to just experience the tour and see what the visitors see when they walk into the Global Ministry Center, Church of the Nazarene in Lenexa. Well, she allowed me. Can you imagine that? She allowed me to have the tour with my cousin. And she took us to the chapel that is built right in front of you as you walk into the building. The chapel was built by the Korean Nazarenes. I mean, they didn't come to build it, but they did send money to build it. É uma capela bonita, maravilhosa. Quando entrei dentro da capela, eu vi algumas coisas que eu já tinha visto, mas eu não tinha dado tanta atenção como naquele dia. Tinha entrado na capela várias vezes para orar, algumas vezes para fazer um vídeo ou outro, mas eu não tinha parado para ver as coisas nos seus detalhes. Há uma mesa onde eles colocaram várias pedras representando as várias regiões do mundo. And I asked, when I looked at those stones on the table, I asked, why do you have 2 stones for Africa? And then I was told that that was due to my mistake. Because when they asked for stones from the regions, I was regional director in Africa, and I asked my field strategy coordinators if they would give me a stone to send to Lenexa to represent our region. And I had 2 field strategy coordinators bringing 2 stones. And those came from 2 very different parts of Africa. One came from what we call the Creative Access area, and the other one from the Southern Africa. One from a place where you cannot be a believer openly. The church is underground, but the church is growing, it is flourishing, it is beautiful to see what is happening there. And when you talk about underground church, you're talking about creative ways of doing church. You're talking about an underground church that worships God over a lake, for instance. They pretend to be fishermen and they go in boats and they are worshiping the Lord in the lake and no one knows what they're doing. To the rest, they are just fishermen. But that's the only way they can serve the Lord. That's the only way they can have a church. Essa é a igreja que nós temos em partes de África, como em outros lugares do continente, do mundo. Não há liberdade para adorar a Deus. As pessoas têm de ser criativas na forma como fazem igreja, como fazem cultos. Mas a igreja está crescendo e é lindo ver o que está acontecendo no Corno de África. That's a white stone that came from the Horn of Africa. And each stone had to have a story. So I asked for a story about the stone. And the story that came with the stone was from Somalia. Don't tell anyone. It is Creative Access. Leaders from that part of Africa were in a meeting with the rest of leaders with leaders from the rest of the Horn of Africa, and they were strategizing. And they heard about this global ministry center that was going to be erected in Lenexa, Kansas. They were given an opportunity to be a part of that building. It's a Nazarene building. It's a Nazarene thing. Would you think of something you can do? And they said, well, it's what we have is so small. We have tried. We have collected money from everyone. And all we can give is $495. But this is all we have. Can this help? Oh yeah, sure. Every dollar will be well used. And when their gift was accepted, one of them stood and said, let me say something. We know that this is small, but we can do more. If there is need for more, just tell us, we will do more. He said, we can sell our cows and send some more. And when you think of people who do not eat 3 meals a day, when they afford 1 meal a day, they are well fed. But they were willing to give that and to sacrifice, to sell their cows, the cows that they milk. You think that is something. The other stone, a outra pedra, representa a parte austral de África. Veio Botswana. Uma pedra bonita. E essa pedra está lá para representar essa outra parte de África, que é uma parte onde a igreja tem estado por muitos anos. A igreja não estava a crescer há uns anos atrás como devia. Uma igreja sólida, temos uma igreja sólida na África Austral. Mas não tão crescente como no Corno de África, de onde veio outra pedra. Duas partes diferentes de África. Mas o mesmo Deus capaz de avivar a sua igreja de forma como nós nem podemos imaginar. Quando eu vi essa pedra ali na capela, naquele tour, a primeira vez que eu notei que havia 2 pedras para a África, não tinha notado que tivessem colocado as 2 pedras que eu enviei de África. Pensei que tivessem escolhido uma das 2. Mas quando vi essa pedra da África Austral, eu me lembrei de março de 2009. Tivemos uma reunião em Zanin, na África do Sul, com todos os diretores de campo, os superintendentes do distrito de todos aqueles países da África Austral. E o diretor de campo, a meu pedido, sugeriu que os superintendentes do distrito apresentassem um curto relatório a respeito daquilo que estava acontecendo de janeiro até março. And that is because in December he sent me a message saying that they had met and decided that in 2009 they were going to plant 200 churches in Southern Africa. South Africa, Botswana, Namibia, Swaziland and Lesotho. The 5 countries in Southern Africa. "200 churches, that is impossible." And the reports were presented. The first one was the VS from that area, from Zanin. And he came and he said, "Pastors, will you please stand?" Well, the place was full. It was a big auditorium. They had come from all over South Africa for the gathering. And they stood. They were all in their white shirts. And he said, "Can you count them?" Not easy to count, but over 100 pastors, representing more than 100 new churches that had been planted just in those 3 months, from January to March. Well, no dia seguinte eu estive de volta ao escritório em Joanesburgo e um amigo meu aqui dos Estados Unidos, um missionário, porque eu tenho muita estima, chegou ao escritório com esta pergunta. Ele disse: "Você acredita que essas igrejas são reais?" Eu disse: "Porque não havia de acreditar. Tem uma razão para não acreditar." E ele disse: "É impossível. It's impossible." And I told him, I said, "Well,
maybe we're not talking about the same thing. Tell me, what is a church? And he described a church to me. And we were not talking about the same thing. A church for him is a church that is very well organized, like embaixadores. Beautiful. It's well organized. It has everything that a church needs. It has a beautiful place like this for worship. It has ministers. It has people who are contributing in systematic ways to building the kingdom. Mas eu disse, nós não estamos a falar do mesmo tipo de igreja. Essas que você ouviu falar são igrejas que estão a começar. Elas estão pequeninas, muito pequeninas. Tem um líder, não tem mais do que um. Não tem um lugar certo. Algumas delas adoram a Deus debaixo de árvores, outras em escolas, em casas privadas. Não são a mesma igreja que você fala. E diz, oh, então está bem. But then he said, you need to see those. I said, well, it will take a while before I can see all those churches. But then I said, tell me one thing. If 10%, let's just think of 10% of those churches surviving, making it. What is the difference between planting those many and have only 10% surviving, and planting nothing and having less than nothing surviving? What's the difference? Well, God is building His church, but you know what? He is building His church on the promise of Jesus, that on the rock the church would be built e as portas do inferno não prevalecerão contra ela. A capela de que falei dentro de GMC é feita de pedras calcárias. Lindas. A igreja de Shawnee, em Kansas, a igreja onde nós vamos, a minha família vai, e eu vou quando estou lá, tem um fundo muito parecido com este aqui. Mas em Shawnee, quando eu toco a parede é real. As pedras são reais. E quando entro na igreja de Shawnee, as pedras no fundo da igreja de Shawnee me lembram mais do que uma coisa. Elas me lembram da minha imperfeição. Do facto de que eu preciso de ser lavrado, cortado, cuidado, colocado no lugar certo para funcionar no todo. They remind me of my limitation, of my imperfection, but they also remind me of our coming together to build something that is greater than us. It reminds me of our differences. Those stones are not all the same. The sizes are different and the shapes are different. And that's how God builds His church. He is building His church that way. Bringing in people from all race and tribes, from all over the world. And that is what heaven will be like when we get there. That is what the heaven will be like. And those who are not prepared for that are not yet prepared for heaven, because there is a wonderful diversity there in heaven. Stones. Well, let's go to the Bible. Stones are mentioned in the Bible in several places, and one of those places is in Exodus chapter 20, verse 25. Exodus 20, 25. If you use stones to make my altar, don't use dressed stones. If you use a chisel on the stones, you'll profane the altar. Se me levantares altar de pedras, não o farás de pedras lavradas, pois se sobre ele manejares a tua ferramenta, profaná-la-ás. Altar me lembra adoração. E Deus está dizendo aqui, meu altar. Quando construires altar e dedicares esse altar, ele será meu altar. E eu tenho o direito de te dizer como construir o altar. Não construas o altar com pedras trabalhadas, lavradas, bem cuidadas. Usa pedras brutas, normais. And if you read commentaries, you will see different ideas they have about why God gave this kind of instruction to His people about the altar. You'll probably read about the fact that He may have wanted them to realize that they did not have a fixed place for worship yet. They were in a journey. And it was not the fixed place that matters. You do not only worship God in one place. You are to be prepared to worship Him everywhere and anywhere you are. Amen. Under any circumstances. You are to be prepared to worship God. And you worship God singing so beautifully as we did today. Thank you, brother. Thank you. You made me feel like back in Africa. Wonderful. But that's worship. That's worship. Giving our all to the Lord. I could see that. All to the Lord. But you're not supposed to do that only here in the church. You're supposed to worship God where you are, as you go, in all you do, in all the circumstances. Não importa onde estiveres, o que estiveres a fazer, adorar a Deus é a tua vida. Deves fazê-lo em qualquer circunstância, em qualquer situação, em qualquer localidade. Não importa o local. O que importa é o facto de estares com Deus e de poderes adorar a Deus. Outros dizem que este altar, esta ordem foi dada sobre o altar para evitar superstição. Boa ideia, não acham? Outros dizem que é para expressar a nossa limitação. Uma outra grande ideia. Eu gosto dela. Outros dizem que por uma questão de simplicidade, o altar tem de ser simples. Deus quer coisas simples. Quem pode ir contra essa boa ideia? Eu digo que apesar de todas essas ideias, boas ideias, talvez Deus tenha dado essa ordem ao seu povo simplesmente para testar sua obediência. Que tal? Eu não sei porque é que para cada coisa nós temos de ter uma razão. Se não faz sentido, não deve acontecer. Se não faz sentido, não é certo. Why does everything have to make sense to us before we embark in it? Why do we have to make sense of everything? If we trust God, if we serve God, if we depend on God, then let us trust Him and not ask that things make sense to us. Let's trust Him. Let's obey Him. Let's follow Him. I was in Mount Vernon, the Nazarene University in Ohio, Mount Vernon, Ohio, last week. We had a wonderful meeting. The regional director for the United States and Canada is promoting the 5 strategic initiatives for this beautiful U.S. and Canada Church of the Nazarene. We had a wonderful conversation. It went from theology to discipleship to everything else. And then a man stood up, and he is our director of evangelism and church planting for the United States and Canada. And he gave his testimony. He was an engineer when he came to know the Lord. He said he was sitting in his living room when he heard this noise coming from somewhere, and he went out, and he had to look over the fence to see what was going on the other side, and Nazarenes were worshiping the Lord there on the other side, and so he went around and asked if he could join them, and they welcomed him, and so he stayed with them, and at the end of the service, he was at the altar, he gave his life to Jesus, and today he is the director of church planting and evangelism for the Church of the Nazarene in the United States and Canada. And you must meet Brother Bill Wisman. He is in fire for the Lord, and he believes that God has a plan for the United States, for the Church of the Nazarene in this country, and that God is going to do something great, and I am all with him. I believe that with all my heart. I believe that. And he said, you know what? I am challenging you to trust the Lord and believe that by the year 2030, He will give us... Wow. Am I okay? That He will give us 10,000 churches in the United States and Canada. You want to know how many we have now? We have 5,002 congregations in the United States and Canada. More in the United States. 5,002. And he is asking for about 5,000 more. And when you realize that some of those churches are closing, some of the Nazarene churches are closing, and the only reason we have been able to keep the plateau, the 5,000 churches for years, for many years, is that some hard workers are planting churches in the United States while others are closing churches. This morning I had the privilege, the rare privilege of signing off a document that will give yes to a district superintendent to reopen a church. And I said, it is with a great joy that I do this. I want to see churches not closing, but starting. 10,000 igrejas do Nazareno no ano 2030 aqui nos Estados Unidos e Canadá. Amém. Agora, o homem que estava a falar é um engenheiro. Para um engenheiro, eu creio, temos engenheiros aqui, não temos? És um engenheiro? Eu creio que temos. Lá está, meu primo é engenheiro. Lá está. Para Davi, as coisas têm de ser exatas. Os cálculos têm de ser exatos. Quando Wisman disse 145 novas igrejas em 2012, eu disse, certamente não vai ser por adição. Porque se adicionarmos 145 todos os anos, até o ano 2030 não teremos mais 5.000 igrejas. Tem de ser por multiplicação. Tem de ser por multiplicação. Aqui temos um homem, um engenheiro, que é mais um homem de fé do que um engenheiro, agora, desafiando aqueles que pensam no que faz sentido, a embarcarem naquilo que pode não fazer sentido, mas que acontece porque Deus quer que aconteça. He will make it happen because He wants it to happen. Sexta-feira, antes de eu sair de Nexa, eu tive de cortar uma reunião a meio para poder apanhar o voo, porque a reunião estava tão entusiasmada, tão cheia de vida. Eu não gosto de fazer isso, mas eu tive de cortar porque tinha de sair. Once a month, we meet with all the directors who serve at GMC, 12 of them. And for 2 years, it's my privilege to be the one chairing those meetings. And I sent them a question prior to the meeting on Friday, beginning of the week. I said, be prepared to tell us, to tell the team, tell the group, what is the lasting contribution of your department to the future of the Church of the Nazarene? We started from one end to the other. And I heard all that they consider to be the lasting impact of their ministry to the future of the Church of the Nazarene. And I did not hear one of them saying, it is the amount of money we can raise. It is the ability of those we bring in to add to the team. It is not the programs. It is not what we just have on paper. It is more than that. They all talked about people. They said, it is about people. It is about people. When it was the General Treasurer's turn, she could not help but give her testimony. She was crying, giving her testimony. She said, I came from a very well-known financial institution in the United States. And we did everything depending on our ability to achieve. When I came to this office, to this position here, Church of the Nazarene, I learned to depend on God. I learned that people of God depend on God. And she said, I have seen miracles happening. And suddenly she reminded me of that day we were meeting with her in our boardroom, and we were dealing with this heavy thing of having to pay off the beautiful building that we have in Lenexa, Kansas, and the finance was not good, and we didn't know what to do, and we were on our knees praying that God would help us. She had left. And then in 5 seconds or less, she was back in the room, and she said, I have an idea. Can I share the idea with you? And she shared the idea, and the idea was the solution. And we paid off the Global Ministry Center in about a month from the day she came in with that idea. Because we depend on God. We learn to depend on God and on God alone. Amen. Do you depend on God today? Do not build the altar with what you think is perfect, with what you think is beautiful. But what I know is
Here it is. I am building the altar, God says. My journey with God, I've been through a few altars. I remember aquele altar na igreja de Nova Sintra, na Brava. Aquele quartinho ali ao fundo. Depois do Sr. Gay ter apresentado uma maravilhosa lição de escola dominical e eu de repente aprendi, eu percebi que eu estava perdido e eu tinha de entregar a minha vida a Deus se eu quisesse ser salvo, e eu quis ser salvo. O altar foi simples, muito simples. Eu me lembro de um outro altar na Ilha do Sal, um altar de pedra. Não era confortável ajoelharmos na areia. Mas todos os sábados subíamos ao monte para orar e percebi que a tradição vinha de há muitos anos. Eu me lembro daquele altar na igreja do Mindelo, numa classe de escola dominical, onde eu entrei para estar a sós com Deus num domingo em que as coisas não tinham ido bem comigo. Eu estava desesperado, eu precisava de mais de Deus e eu estava à procura desse mais, mas eu não sabia como encontrar esse mais. Eu percebi de repente que não era propósito de eu poder fazer alguma coisa boa, mas era a propósito de Deus poder e querer fazer alguma coisa em mim. E eu me entreguei completamente a Deus. Que bênção sair desse lugar transformado. Eu me lembro de um altar em Etiópia. Não era nada como este altar aqui. Mas um altar. Um lugar de adoração. Eles não têm o costume de se ajoelharem como nós fazemos aqui, em outros lugares. Eles simplesmente chegam ao altar, que é uma mesa e que não dá para todos, e eles se prostram completamente no chão, em sinal de completa dependência de Deus. Saying it's no longer I, but it's Him. It's Jesus in me. And I have also heard stories of altar. One of the most exciting stories of altar that I have heard is from Bruno Radi. Bruno Radi was regional director for South America, a wonderful evangelist. And he was preaching one day and he said, I'm not comfortable that I come into a church and there is no altar. I'm used to altar. Well, he's just like me. I like altar. I like it. I want to see altar, a place where I can go and others can come and we can serve the Lord. We can worship Him. We can pray to Him. But there was no altar. And suddenly, when he asked, the answer was given to him. It's not because we do not like altar. It's because we do not have room for an altar. The whole space is full of people. And he said, what a great reason not to have an altar. What a great reason not to have an altar. When God revives us, that's what happens. Churches are planted, people are brought into the kingdom of God, and we see wonderful things happening because He is reviving
His church. But let me tell you, of all the altars, by the way, on that tour to the Global Ministry Center, they took my cousin to this place where they display the altar where all the general superintendents since Dr. Reynolds have kneeled at. And they told me in Florida in 2009, you also knelt at this altar. Oh, I didn't know that. I remember the altar, but I didn't know it was this one. Beautiful altar. But let me tell you, the most significant altar that I know is that which is in here. It is that place where I invite Jesus and He meets me every day, and every single time I call upon His name. That is the altar that is the most important I know. And I want to ask you today, is He there? Is that altar alive? Aquele lugar de encontro com Deus está vivo, ativo, funciona? O altar do teu coração funciona? Eu espero que sim. Eu espero que sim. Eu espero que tenhas dado permissão a Deus de continuar a construir esse altar. E de usar-te para continuar a construir esse altar. Onde tu e Ele, vocês se encontram. Não apenas em horas marcadas, mas em horas desencontradas. Não apenas quando tu sabes que é certo que vais ter um tempo de oração, mas quando talvez tenhas pensado outra coisa deve ter prioridade sobre o meu tempo. Está o altar ativo. Nós vamos cantar um hino que cantamos há muito tempo atrás. E eu sei que vocês aqui cantam hinos novos e hinos antigos. E eu acredito que vocês podem cantar comigo este hino. Não me lembro da letra perfeitamente, mas vamos tentar. O pastor nos vai dirigir. E eu quero somente dizer-te, se o Senhor está falando ao teu coração hoje a respeito do altar do teu coração, se há necessidade de renovares o voto, de te deixares estar no altar, eu te convido a mais uma vez publicamente declarar esta determinação, esta decisão de continuar com Cristo. E vamos juntos celebrar o altar de Deus das nossas vidas. Eu te convido a vires para a frente. Há lugar aqui neste altar físico. Se não houver suficiente, há lugar à frente. E desejas ver muito
Oferta
vieste para ficar. Para ficar. Retificar as coisas, porque temos de tentar endireitar as coisas por nossas próprias forças, porque temos de perguntar como fazer isto, como fazer aquilo, a pessoas que podem saber como fazer isto e aquilo, mas que também falham e não são perfeitas, porque temos de construir o altar sozinhos, quando temos um Deus poderoso, capaz, pronto a construir este altar para nós, porque temos de fazê-lo sozinhos, irmãos e amigos. Isto é simplesmente humano. Deus de todo poder e glória, Deus que se agrada de se encontrar conosco no seu altar, esse Deus diz: deixa comigo, entrega a tua vida e deixa o resto comigo. Já fizeste a entrega? Se não, que oportunidade esta, que oportunidade maravilhosa de fazer ou de renovar a entrega, de renovar os votos de entrega. Eu creio que é para isso que muitos chegaram ao altar hoje, para dizerem: Senhor, eu me lembro daquele dia quando cheguei ao altar e deixei tudo ao altar. Eu não quero voltar a tomar do altar aquilo que eu lá deixei aquele dia. Tentações não faltam, mas eu estou decidido a deixar tudo contigo no altar do Senhor. May the wonderful God you love and want to serve bless you in amazing ways today and in days ahead, as you walk with Him, as you look at Him for help, for grace, for strength, for vision for what you may think you know, but you really do not know. Vision for today and vision for tomorrow. That is the kind of God we serve. That is the God you and I can meet.